I want to recite from Emily Dickinson. It's just one stanza. The poem is Words. A word is dead when it is said, some say. I think it just begins to speak or to live. So it's the power of words.
The power
and democracy, yes, works with this power of word. What's democracy? It's the power of people, empower people. You feel protected. You feel the freedom. You breathe freely. You are able to create, to use your imagination in a democratic society. I love poetry because I teach a lot of it during my job. Being a teacher of both English and Romanian, I have this chance to teach poetry. I include it. It's a way of life. I breathe, I can say, through poetry.
So we have met through Learn to Change, and you were part of the team when we went to do a teacher training not very long ago. And this is where I discovered your passion for poetry. And so I was thinking it's interesting that a teacher of literature, passionate about poetry, is also interested in developing a democratic culture in a school environment and is interested in education for democracy in general. So I wanted to see what you thought about that and how you can connect poetry and education for democracy.
Yes, a very challenging aspect, but I feel I can answer, taking into consideration my experience as a teacher. From all genres, I think poetry is mostly connected to democracy. I consider poetry the most democratic from all the other aspects in teaching, because it allows students to speak their mind according to what they felt. And each and everyone has this opportunity to say things about what they have understood from that poem.
And there's no right and wrong. So
No,
they're really
yes, that's it. There is no
Yeah.
right and wrong, because as I said before, behind words, a word is a metaphor. So different interpretations are accepted. So it's acceptance. Poetry can foster a democratic classroom, and I can explain why. All the students, after reading a poem, can engage in rendering the message according to their feelings, according to their experience of life. Can I give you an example of a democratic class during an English class in which we taught poetry? The other day, I suggested talking about lines that rhyme. This was the title. And I brought to students pieces from poetry. One of the poems was written by Vicky Fever and sounds like this. Sometimes I have wanted to throw you off like a heavy coat. Sometimes I have said you would not let me breathe or move. But now that I'm free to choose light clothes or none at all, I feel the cold. And all the time I think how warm it used to be. So students started interpreting. You can say the code is the school, which has norms. Can be democracy, which has norms to be respected. It can also be love. As long as you have this code, sometimes you feel it too heavy. But as soon as you get rid of it, you start to feel cold. So the multiple interpretation of this code stimulates thinking, and I could hear students talking because first they listened. So this genre, like democracy, deal with listening.
Okay. So when I'm listening to you, it's like poetry is a bridging between the author, between you and the students and what they think. I like the way you also mention emotions, because oftentimes in schools and in between teachers and students, emotions are sometimes absent.
Yes. Absent, that's good, but it's well said that I try through poetry to build the bridge. So poetry, it's a good point, can be the bridge to render emotions from both directions.
Mm-hmm. And also thinking of democracy, I was thinking actually poetry as a mediating force that's bridging local, global, here, what I am here, what I am elsewhere, the singular, the universal. I guess what I'm saying is that I'm wondering about poetry as a medium or a mediator or both between otherwise heterogeneous ideas and realities, and helping actually people to connect through the art and through the emotions that what the poem activates actually in them.
Yes, because a poem is written from the heart. It renders emotions, and we people are creatures of emotions. So this is another connection.
Yes, especially political emotions. We often speak about politics in a very dry sense. But
I
in the
understand.
end, it's actually very rich with emotions, the choices we make, the attributions we make, the way we interpret our world. So, do you think that students that have access, who have access to poetry, have a more open mind also?
Of course, because they know not about what happens in their country, but reading about poetry, generally speaking, they have a broadened um, attitude towards the whole world.
Hmm.
They are more informed, more prepared, because they see things from different points of view, not only from one point of view. We write or we read art for the art's sake, and when we do it like this, you love it. No
Hmm.
impositions,
No
only art.
impositions, and it's a free, as you're saying, sometimes there are rules and sometimes the rules change,
Yes, and we
which
have
is
to
a
accept
yes, and that's
that's
an
the
important
aspect.
idea with democracy because it's
Yes,
about making the rules
yeah,
together and agreeing.
acceptance.
Yeah, absolutely. How about I was thinking education for democracy, so we're often thinking about competencies for democracy. And I was thinking of specific ones that I could think that poetry in this acting as the bridge, as we said, in this capacity of bridging different worlds and different realities and different ideas, whether it also does something in terms of curiosity for the other or our capacity for compassion and empathy. What do you think?
Oh,
Or
yes.
even critical thinking? I don't know. I'm just making hypothesis here. What do you think?
Yes, I totally agree with you. It stirs in us fury sometimes, sometimes compassion. So that's sometimes poems are written as a manifest. So as you said, it um, develops or it renders different kind of emotions. That's why it touches different hearts, different people. There is something that I read and it's here. It sounds like this. It's from Rita Dove. Poetry helps us to, it's interesting point of view. Poetry helps us to see and experience life through different perspectives, which is an essential component of participating in an active multicultural democracy.
That is true. Who writes this?
Rita Dove.
Rita Dove. Okay,
Yes.
so it's interesting because it's very close to what the author of Political Emotions said. Martha Nussbaum so wrote this essay called Political Emotions, and she regrets the diminishing of the arts and the increasing of the STEM subjects, math, technology, and that in fact we are reducing the curriculum in the arts, and this is really priving. It really takes away from students this opportunity to have another rapport with words and to have another an outlet to actually really understand their world on a deeper sense, and which includes our relationships to other and our relationship to the world, which is, she says, an important part of being an active citizen in our societies. So very close. Thank you for bringing in this new reference I didn't know. So different researchers, but same conclusions or same ideas that are emanating.
So life is poetry.
That's great.